To all those above me that watch over me, to all of you, my favorite pair of peeps on this side of the veil, welcome. This is Reverend Sean Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. I'm your host, Reverend Sean, the Rev. Welcome to my haunted home, my very haunted home. Although it's been a little quiet today. Not so quiet at my guest's house today, and we'll get into that when I bring her on. I'll try to get her on as soon as I can, guys. I know that's the reason why you all tuned in. But I have a quick story I want to start off with. I have actually a couple of friends in the hospital right now fighting for their lives with COVID. Younger than me, healthier than me, in great shape, no underlying health issues. So very scary. One of the gentlemen just recently was able to come home. He's still struggling from some of the complications that came with his particular battle with COVID. But he finally tested negative in the hospital, and he was doing well enough on the other issues that rather than move him to another ward, they just sent him home where he's got family there to care for him. But there were a couple of nights there where he honestly thought he wasn't going to make it till morning. And he actually had some pretty frightening things happen, some things he saw, some things that came to visit him there in the hospital when he thought he might not make it till morning. Let's just say it put the fear of God back into him, to say the least. So he's home. He's watching today. He's got the volume cranked up on his computer because he wants me to throw some scripture at him that will help him with some of the issues that hopefully didn't follow him home from the hospital. And he's also having an issue with his brother, and he didn't go into detail with me about that, but apparently him and his brother have been estranged for many years. I don't know why. I didn't ask, none of my business. But they haven't seen each other or talked in a long time. And when his brother found out that he was almost died, he's been trying to come and see him. And my friend, who we will just call E, has been reluctant in wanting to let him come over and see him. And so I'm going to slap some scripture on him to help him with that issue too. But we are going to call him, we're going to refer to him as E. And then I have a quick candle to light for a wonderful sister in Christ of ours by the name of Mary. But first, for my brother E, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. And I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now has come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God and the authority of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren has been cast down. He who accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him through the blood of the Lamb and through the word of their witness. Amen. And E, a little something for you and your brother. And Jesus said, you have heard that it was said to your ancestors, you shall not kill, and whoever kills will be liable to judgment. But I say to you, whoever is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar and there recall that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there at the altar. Go first and be reconciled with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Amen. E, I'm thinking about you, brother. I love you. I hope you get better soon. See your brother. Mary, I haven't forgot about you. This is your candle, sweetie. It will enjoy the show with me. And after the show, I will take it into the room where all the other candles are. If I can get it lit. Here we go. And it will stay there lit until it runs out of wax. But St. Francis said, all the darkness in the world cannot extinguish the light of a single candle. Mary, may the Holy Spirit intervene and enter your life now and remain with you for the remainder of your days and on into the next journey. Amen. Brothers and sisters, if there's anything you want to know about me and my wife and our ministry work, you can find out at our website, www.ghost-b-gone.biz. On the website, remember that my wife and I do not charge for our ministry work, helping people with their paranormal issues. So I know times are tough, but if you notice the donate button and you're able to do so, click the button and send in a small donation. I promise you, it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts, and I assure you it'll be put to good use. In addition to being an ordained exorcist, if you're having issues of a spiritual nature, I'm also a certified spiritual advisor, intuitive coach. You can make an appointment at the website to speak with me about those issues there. Go over to the page entitled the WSE course/book. There you'll find the ghost store. Lots of cool things in there to purchase, like this old school ghostbegone.biz coffee mug, among other things, if you go for that sort of stuff. But scroll down a little bit and you will run into my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. A true story inspired by spirit and divine intervention. And I quote, the scariest book I ever published. And that was Annette Munich, owner of Stellium Books, my publisher. But don't let that scare you from buying a copy. I think you'll love it. Nobody's knocked on my door and thrown a copy of it back at me. I refer to it as a very different kind of feel-good story. There's a lot of good versus evil in it, where good wins. But the best part about it is part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org in St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And for all of you that have already purchased a copy, you're a part of that support group, so God bless you. You can get it a little cheaper at Amazon. You'll pay a little more at the website, but it comes autographed by yours truly. That probably makes the book worth less. But it comes autographed and enclosed in a house blessing kit. And like I said, for all of you that purchase a copy, God bless you. Okay, you'll also notice on that page the Worldwide Society of Exorcists, which I am a founding member of. I offer a 12-week online college-level course, Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. If you are a warrior for Christ and you hunger and feel a calling for the knowledge to want to know how to draw your line in the sand and make a stand and put up the good fight against true evil, God forbid it ever comes knocking, that's the course for you. All my graduates get a stunning diploma, certificate of completion, suited for framing, along with some other very special blessed items that you can only get from yours truly. You can enroll in the course there on the website. If you want to know more about the course, there's a Worldwide Society of Exorcists Facebook page. So please keep all my former, current, and future students in your prayers. All right, guys, the reason why you all came. Hope you got all your passports punched and ready for a boat trip to the most haunted land down under, HAUNTSTRALIA. This woman is a friend, a wonderful person. I love her. I respect her. She's Australia's leading paranormal authority, author, elite ParaHunter. Got probably one of the best ghost tours companies in the whole continent of Australia. Please welcome to the show the one and only Alison Oborn. Alison, are you with us?
I certainly am. Hello.
There you are, looking pretty as ever. And let me let everybody know that it is 8:30 in the morning there tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm drinking lots of coffee.
I got I think this is diet blueberry green tea.
Oh, nice.
So there's some caffeine in that too. I've had already too much coffee, so I went to the green tea. But you've been up ghost hunting all night long. You look wonderful. You got friends already jumping on saying hi to you. So, and a bunch of your friends have sent me questions to give to you today. I know the show's only an hour long and I'm wasting time. I'll try to get to those questions too. But just in the short time you and I were getting ready for the show backstage, so much has happened. If you can, are they still at the window?
Yes, hang on. You're lucky if you just come back down.
Hello. For those of you that don't know what those are two of Alison's team members on her ghost hunts. And they're still waiting. They're still waiting for their pay from last night. So, or some food. They work cheap either way. But that is the life you live. Oh, there's a third one to the left. Oh my God, you got a whole herd showing up. Oh my gosh, incredible. And you talked about this huge spider the size of the palm of your hand that you recognized wasn't poisonous on your desk there. You said the two, I believe your country has the top 10 most poisonous snakes in the world, and 2 of them are living in your yard, and on and on and on. You are I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, but oh my gosh. What's an Aussie? Somebody sent in a question, wants to know, okay, it's early there. What's she having for breakfast?
I haven't had breakfast.
Oh, no. Okay.
I haven't even had any sleep.
We'll wrap this up quick so you can have something to eat. But what's a normal Aussie breakfast for you like?
For me, just toast. For many Australians, Vegemite on toast.
I forgot about Vegemite. That's right.
Vegemite.
You know, that's some people have a love affair with it. Some people don't even show them the jar. And so obviously you like it. I have never tried it. I don't know if you're allowed. I was going to say, I don't know if you want to, they're even able to ship me a bottle. What are they doing now? They trying to break in?
Doing the door thing like that.
Okay, here we go. This is going to be a good one today. They're probably going to break in, and if that, who do I call if they do break in? Do I call? No, he passed away. Rest in peace. Who do I call to help you if they break in?
The Roo Busters.
Okay, let's get some of these stories out of the way. We're going to get some, while we're on the topic of animals, I have a couple of paranormal stories I could share with you. And you too, you said you wanted to give me a spider story and a snake story.
Yeah, well, we were talking about spiders. You were going to tell me yours first, and then...
Okay, I'll tell you mine first, because we talked about me hating bugs. I don't think I could ever live in Australia, although it's on, top 5 places where I might see myself retiring many years from now. I love the country, everything about it, especially the people. So many, many years ago, Sharon and I worked a very ugly case, which we realize now was demonic in nature. And we hadn't really ran into the mother lode of all haunts by this time. And so we really didn't know what we were doing on this one, with this one entity. And I believe we opened up a portal with a Ouija board, and this thing followed us home. Sharon came under attack. Many, many years later, we're still, struggling with a lot of the things that were left on her physically from her attack. They manipulate everything from electronics to the weather to the environment, and amongst many, many things that happen. And I'll make this quick. I heard children playing in my garage. I went to check. There was no children out there. Later on that day, I heard children playing in my garage again. When I went to go check, my garage was just nothing but a swarm of bees, which I freaked out. I didn't know if they were the African bees or just regular bees, but I knew that I couldn't afford a beekeeper. I didn't know what to do. Are they going to be able to get in the house? What's going on? I'm already hanging on emotionally by my fingernails because of what's in the house and things that have been happening. So I devised this plan to put on a makeshift bee suit, and I'm going to walk out real slowly in the garage, not swat at nothing, unlock the garage, try and slowly make my way back in the house, go outside, slowly lift the garage door up, go back in the house, wait a couple hours, see what happens. Went off like a charm, and the bees left. And since then, it's like I was telling you before the show, I was on my way to work one day, a bee flew in my car, buzzed around my head, and I just told it, hey, listen, if you got a message for me, give it to me. If you don't, I'm on my way to work. I don't want to crash. You're freaking me out a little bit. Could you just leave? But thank you for showing up. And it flew right out the window and left. And I have many holy people of indigenous blood, indigenous background, and a lot of spiritual people that say, don't kill the spider, don't kill the rat or the mouse or the bird that gets in the house, and it's all happened here. Bees especially, good omen. For many years, I thought I was so freaked out by that incident that I thought it was a bad thing. But now, a lot of people told me that those bees showing up was it was a protective type thing, because shortly after that, we were able to get this whatever it was out of the house. So that's my crazy bee story.
Ah. Well, I've got an odd bee story. Because on my land, I've got about 18 acres of scrub and bush and for like trees and whatever in America. But what happened was my husband had been up there. He just got some really, really expensive prescription glasses. So he'd been up there cutting wood, and suddenly he got swarmed by a load of bees. And he's been attacked by bees before and ended up in hospital. So he panicked, like swatting at them. The glasses went flying. And he searched and he searched. They were worth about $500 for these glasses. Couldn't find them. And I said, well, I'll go up and have a look. So went up there. I couldn't find them anywhere. I combed that whole paddock for these glasses. Couldn't find them. Sat on a log and just did this really weird thing. I'm very nuts and bolts. I'm kind of I do have a spiritual side that sneaks out now and again. So I sat on this log and I said, sorry about that, my kangaroo is trying to get in the door. I sat and I basically said in my head out loud that if whatever is out there can show me where the glasses are, then I promise that the bees will be safe. Because my husband was talking about, we got to get rid of the bees, you know, it's dangerous up there. And I promised that they would never be touched. All I needed was the glasses. I got up, took a few steps away from where I'd been sitting, and there were the glasses. I'm sure I'd already combed that whole area. Long grass. There was no chance of finding them. And it was just, once I made that pact that nothing would ever be touched up there, it's just like, there they are. Just knew exactly where to step and which way to go. And just there they were lying there.
Well, I knew before we even did this show today, this is what was going to happen. I might as well just keep your friends' questions, but toss my questions out, because you and I always go. Our conversations always take a life on of its own, and that to me sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that sounds very elementalish.
That's, yeah, if you were going to put it as anything, that I'm going to say I used to walk every day out the back there. It's almost like I knew the land, the rocks, it's the weirdest thing when you're literally living and walking and sitting and just contemplating life and in nature. And you become very, very familiar with it. And it's almost like it becomes familiar with you as well. And I don't know why I'd say that. I don't usually get into this side. But it's, yeah, I would say more elemental, more nature based, whatever it is. So, yeah.
I get people and colleagues of mine in this field of deliverance ministry criticize me all the time for my belief in the elementals. You got to understand, I've only been ordained 5-6 years now, but I've been ghost busting since I was 10. So over many, many years, you see things, you hear things happen to you. You're different. So yeah, I'm a big believer in them, and I love telling the story about a big tree in our yard that was going to fall on our house. I mean, it was already coming out of the ground, leaning at our house. It was going to take out my whole master bedroom, or possibly fall on our car or on my neighbor's house. So I went out to the elementals, and I did pray to the Holy Family too. But then I prayed to the elementals, please don't let this tree land on my house. And I did some offerings out there. A native, indigenous native friend of mine who's a holy person told me what offerings to go out there and put in the ground and stuff. So I did, and I woke up the next morning. The tree completely lifted out of the ground, fell the opposite direction, landed perfectly in my yard, missing our car, missing the neighbor's house, and stopping just short of the sidewalk so it wouldn't hit a kid. And so I'm a big believer in that. But there's bad ones out there too. I mean, many times Sharon and I will be coming home from work or coming home from going to the store, and it's a routine where every once in a while I go to reach after I've unlocked the door, and then I go to grab the doorknob to open it up, it'll feel like something bites me. And I'll show Sharon and there's nothing there. Then a little bit later, if we're sitting at the table having something to eat or talking, she'll go, look at your hand. Sure enough, there's either a little bite mark or the scratches on my hand. So there's some mischievous ones out there too.
Yeah.
But what do you have in Australia? I mean, so many of the, I know you have a cryptozoology community there, but when it comes to elemental, that's a total different spiritual feel. And what comes to mind to you that's even in Australia? I'm so unfamiliar with that.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, I haven't, as I said, I tend to stay nuts and bolts, equipment based researcher. So when something really strange like elemental stuff or these weird coincidences to do with nature and stuff, it kind of challenges that very rational side of me. But we did have now here's an interesting one. We did have a case as a paranormal research team, which I've got as well, paranormal field investigators. And we were called out to a house just down the road, actually. And she was having a lot of bad luck on the land. Her favorite animals were dying under really weird circumstances. Even the vets said that he couldn't account for why she was having such bad luck with her animals. For instance, there was a calf born, and the calf got up on its legs, did its little stagger, and then fell down the smallest gap in a well. The chances of that would be absolutely, very slim. So she called us in to see what was going on. There's old house on the property. And it did feel, as we went up to the old ruin of the house, it did feel like, whoa, don't come any further. It's like it was a no-go area. But obviously, as paranormal investigators, off we went into it. And we started to play music. It was really weird. I don't know why I did it. For the first time on an investigation, I took a certain type of classical music, baroque, which has a certain effect on your brainwaves and stuff like that. So I thought, well, maybe it'll have effect on the paranormal as well. So made a point of saying, hey, we brought this for you as a gift, played the music, and the whole feeling came down a little bit. Now, she had also said a lot of what was happening was down by this well in that area, which has a dry stream, and it's got what we call a stone quarry. So it's full of rocks and stones, and people for a long time had been taking those stones to build houses and things like that. So we went down there and we took gifts down there as well and laid them out on the well. Never done this before. I don't even know why I did it. And we basically played the music down there, said, look, we acknowledge that, this is your land and these are gifts for you and I think because I wasn't taking things, I was actually giving stuff. It seemed to work. The whole feel of the place came down. I have talked to the lady since. She was so grateful. She hasn't had the problem since. The animals, I told her what to do. I said, look, just go in, acknowledge whatever's there, take it some music, take things to it, whatever it is. Don't keep taking. It was almost like the land had been, is it worth not the word rape, but in the sexual way, but like the land had been raped of
absolutely
the nature, and it was like it was rebelling, if that makes sense. And it goes against my rational side fully, but it worked, and she hasn't had a problem since. And it's just, yeah.
I'm on board with all of that. That's a wonderful story, and yeah, it's I am so on board with all of that. And you bring two things to mind, like the music. So many people I deal with when I go into their homes, they too, and I used this comment earlier in my opening monologue, but these people are hanging on to the edge emotionally, going through what they're going through, and their vibration is so low and they're so depressed that I find music, and even if they just make it a point to go over to their CD player and throw in just a CD of their favorite band and just crank it, that music automatically brings up the level of happiness and their vibration. And many times I recommend people, if I do sense there's something malevolent in nature in there, God forbid demonic, I recommend play some gospel music, or even go out and get a CD recording of the Latin Mass or something and play that. And I'm telling you, it has great results. So I'm a big fan of the music too, and you know, my friends that are of indigenous heritage, that's what they're all about. Every time I've been invited to a sweat lodge session or a firewalk session or a drum session, or oh, what else have I been invited to? A ghost dance session. It's all music related with the drums and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a big you know, supporter of that for anybody out there that, you know, maybe be going through some issues and can get a hold of some good music. Just throw on some music, have some fun, have a drink, get up, dance, you know, grab somebody in the family and dance, you know, have a, you know, beat, just whatever, no matter what, be happy, because they hate that. And that you were talking about stones, and you brought up another thing I'm thinking about. I'm going to apologize to your friends again. I'm going to get to the questions quickly here, but you have a location there that made Life magazine. Is it Uluru?
Oh, Uluru.
Uluru. I am so interested in the Aboriginal people. I have yet to meet someone like you from your country that has actually worked a case with them. I've been blessed to be invited out to one or two of the reservations near us here and help holy people there with some of their issues. A great honor. And I don't know if you've even heard of anybody, a paranormal investigator such as yourself, being allowed to work with the Aboriginals, but I know that mountain or hill or whatever you want to call it, it's a very spiritual place. Recently, they banned it from being hiked anymore. You can't go hike it. It's a park, but do they call them sorry rocks?
They, yeah, look, they haven't.
I think the magazine mentioned sorry rocks, and all these people have been taking rocks from there and having the worst luck in their lives, and having to mail the rocks back from all over the world. And we call them here not game wardens, we call them park rangers.
Right.
I don't know what they call them there, but they have all these sorry rocks come back. They call them that, I guess, because people are sorry I took this and my. But tell me, do you know anything about that hill? And is your team into investigating nature?
It's they haven't. I'll just say they haven't banned people from walking the park. They're still allowed to go to the foot of Uluru. They're just not allowed to walk on it anymore because there's just too much damage being done to it. Obviously, people trucking up there, and it's a very sacred thing to the Indigenous people up there. So, so they've stopped people from walking on it. But yeah, it's very hard working with the Indigenous people here. I do get cases that are sent to me. Quite often we get we used to get, obviously I don't do houses anymore, but we used to get house cases where they were seeing very fast moving, very tall, kind of willowy black shadows running through the house and moving quickly. Certain things were happening. They'd had the Catholic Church come in and bless it, and it just made it worse. Now, talking to people who work out in the mines and out in WA, right out in the middle of nowhere, doing the work, they do talk about when they're out in the bush by the campfire, seeing very tall, very fast-moving, willowy type shadows flitting through the trees. And when they've talked to the local Indigenous tribes there, they've said, oh yeah, they're just the guardians. They're just the ancestors, the guardians, keeping a watch on everything. So, and we do get it reported here. Now, for us, because it makes it worse, it seems to make it worse when we go in. We tend to pass it on. We try and give them contacts to go to do with the Indigenous people, so they can get an elder maybe to come in and work with whatever Indigenous spirit is there. So for us to go in and tamper with it, it's very different here. It's very, very protected in in their culture. So if I go in as a white person with a white religion, it just seems it's going to stir it up even more, because that's not kind of what their belief system is. So we try and go outside and bring them in and leave it to them. So.
We have something similar to that, and it's I don't think it's exact, but we have something here referred to as the Slender Man, and it's a very tall, lanky, solid black shadow stick figure that's seen outdoors a lot. Just creepy. I find all that stuff creepy, and it's interesting to me that the Aboriginals that you spoke with referred to them as sort of like spiritual elders or watchers, protectors. Here, not so much. Usually, the apparition or the appearance of the Slender Man, bad things come with that. So a little crazy with that, but oh my gosh, yeah, I'm into all of that. I'm going to have to get out there and your tour. I know your tour is considered probably, if not one of the, possibly the best, most popular paranormal tour, ghost tours in all of Australia. Now, I want to ask your opinion on something. Residual versus intelligent. You investigate places that are so old, borderline ancient, and over many, many, many years, so many changes have happened to these places, like the prison that you are so famous for giving tours of. And I was reading about Z Ward. I have friends here that love, love, love investigating lunatic asylums. It's their thing. I don't judge. God bless you. Good luck. You be respectful. Carry a mirror and watch your back. But I find all of that very interesting. And like, I'm thinking of a friend right now who says he'll be sitting in his house and he'll just see soldiers march through, but he only sees them from like the knees up, and they're like in the ground, but they march through his home. And so he started doing, and there's no rhyme or reason. It can happen any day, any time of the day. But he did some research and found out that many, 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 many years ago, back in the day, there was like a place that sheltered soldiers just down the road, and that was a thoroughfare for the soldiers to go to their fort and back out. And so obviously these soldiers, it's maybe residual, maybe intelligent, are still marching through this area. They don't realize that there's other homes around. I've had people talk to me about seeing ghosts that walk upstairs that there's no stairs there. You and I have both seen many a spirit just go through a wall, because I think back in their time, the wall wasn't there. But, I had a ghost that was seen walking through a bowling alley that was once a bomb shelter at someone's home, and then up a staircase and through this secret passage that led into a bar. But she would walk through the secret passage. She wouldn't open it up. But I heard my wife walking up behind me one night, and I thought, I'm going to catch a really cool selfie of the two of us. So I took this selfie, and I turned around and talked to my wife. I'm face to face with this apparition. And I can't even tell you what 1,000 things go through your mind, and what felt like 10 minutes was probably only about 10 seconds. But eye contact, this woman stopped. And it wasn't until I moved out of her way that she walked past me, and I followed her down the hallway, up the stairs. Of course, I saw her go through. I went out, pushed my way through the bookcase, started taking photos all around, didn't see her. And then I got home much late, hours later, and I was reviewing evidence, and caught her in the reflection of a mirrored pillar that was in the little bit of a dance hall that they had in this mansion. And she's walking up a small staircase to another part of the house, and I caught her reflection. So there I debunked what everybody thought was, well, I didn't debunk it, it was by accident, but what everybody thought was residual turned out to be intelligent.
Yeah.
I'm almost thinking there really is no such thing as a residual, because my friend says when the soldiers come by, sometimes some of them will look at them like, what the hell is that? And keep marching. So you're so experienced, and you ghost hunt far more than I do. What is your theory on residual versus intelligent, and some of the things you've experienced.
Yeah. And residual, we do seem to get sounds, smells, fleeting shadows. The Adelaide jail, we get the smell of baking bread sometimes on the tour. There's no bakery around there, but they used to be, because the prisoners used to bake bread for the local hospital. So piano playing in the Adelaide jail, we don't have a piano, but they used to be up in the chapel when it was a working jail. So we get those residual sounds. I'm not sure if it's a ghost. Sometimes I do wonder. I do have another little thing, because I know it was always a stone tape theory that buildings would hold on to sounds and it would just replay it under certain circumstances. But I sometimes wonder now whether we don't understand time, and maybe sometimes time clips, so that we have the past and the present just kind of clips a little bit, and we see glimpses of the past, but it's happening now around us. And that's getting into all, intelligence, quantum physics stuff, I suppose. But it would make more sense in a building holding on to something and just replaying it. That maybe that smell, whoa, that tobacco that just walked past, the perfume, maybe it's happening around us and we're just glimpsing it. Intelligent, that's mainly what I deal with on the tours. And you talk about it going through walls and things like this. 2 examples of where it's very aware of how we have places set up today. Adelaide Arcade, the ghost of the caretaker that was, unfortunately, he met a tragic end in this shopping arcade. He got pulled into a generator and crushed in the 1800s. Now, he's been seen on the 2nd level. There's a balcony that goes around the top shops. Now, that wasn't there in his day. That was only put in there in the last sort of 30, 40 years. So he's seen up there, and yet there wasn't a balcony on his day, so he's very aware of it. Another one at Z Ward, you're talking about Z Ward. We had some regulars that came to do an investigation. They bring trigger objects, so sounds or objects that would be familiar back in the day of whoever's there. And this sound they brought was the sound of a man screaming, which that building would have been full of once upon a time. So they'd done that in a cell. They played the screaming. They came out because they thought they heard somebody moving around in the hallway. And in the dark, they could see this silhouette of a man standing halfway down the hallway. So they thought it was a member of the team upstairs come down. So they went to go and talk to him to see why he had left his team, and he moved off down the hallway. So they put their torch on it. They said it was as solid as you and me and as detailed as you and me. You would have thought it was a real person. It was an old man. He was kind of stooped down a little bit. He was shuffling very quickly. And as the torch hit him, he put his hands up on his face like that to shield his face.
Really?
He went around one of the cell doors and into the cell. Now, in his day, those cell doors would have either been fully shut or fully open. They wouldn't have been out how I have them for display. So he was working with the time period that we're in. They went running up there still thinking it was a real person. It was that solid, and there was nobody in the cell. I was so annoyed because I wasn't on that night. I had a night off. But there was 5 witnesses and my guide that saw it. So, which would say that whatever it is very aware of how we have anything set up and what we're doing on any given night. So
I'm the first one to always tell people I know nothing. You can ask me, I'll do my best I'll tell you what I think, but I know nothing. And I mean, there was a time where we could judge. Well, I have a spidey sense, or a 6th sense, if you will. I have a gift of discernment from God to kind of know when I'm in the presence of something really malevolent or God forbid demonic. But when it comes to ghosts, I don't know what they're all about. It's like I can be in a group of people. Back in the day when I was ghost hunting, only one person, I mean, we could be in a group close together, only one person getting a smell, only one person getting their hair played with or a hand on a shoulder, one person hearing a disembodied voice, nobody else. So usually it used to throw up a red flag. Well, let's get the cameras on that person. Something's trying to communicate with just that person. And I've done things. You mentioned trigger objects. Put a trap camera on a trigger object, trace around it on a piece of paper. Also be filming it with another video camera, taking occasional stills, review evidence later. And all of a sudden, it's almost like you mentioned a time slip. You don't see the object move, and you watch the film, but sure enough, by the end of the film, it has moved out of the tracing circle, the object. One camera may pick up a voice. None of the other audio on any of the other equipment pick it up. Now somebody else gets a smell. Nobody else gets a smell. It's so, like I said, you and I are going to be having this conversation one day in heaven and having a good laugh, throwing back a pint or two, and just laughing about all the things we'll know then that we don't know now. But I mean, what about this? I know where you get your passion from, but what about this? What do you think about all of this? Are you as confused about ghosts as I am? I mean, I talk to them sometimes, and they'll tell me why they're still here. But that guy you were talking about, who wants to spend eternity in the jail where he was pulled in and crushed into machinery? Go to heaven, brother. Go with your family. Go be with your maker. Why spend eternity here unless it's a visitation thing? I just don't know.
I think with the jail and the asylums in particular, it's almost like it's their home. I mean, we've been there. We've been at the jail 18 years. The asylum, we've been there 6 years. And you actually get very fond of whatever's there. You know, there were people once. At the end of the day, we just have to remember they were people once. And unfortunately, with asylums, they had a mental health issue that should have been helped, but they didn't have the understanding back then. So, and you do find in life people get institutionalized. Like in the Adelaide jail, we were getting prisoners that would reoffend just so they could go back to jail.
Wow.
Because they become institutionalized. They get their bed, they get their meals. It became their life, if you like. And I sometimes wonder if somewhere they feel safe there. It's their home. A bit like they would have been in life, I guess. Maybe they're institutionalized, maybe in death it holds them there. The other theory, if you've done something really bad, all right, if you've murdered somebody, especially back in the 1800s, early 1900s, where Adelaide was very, very religious back then, where do you think you're going to go? All right. So if you die and take your belief system over, and I'm not saying this is how it works, because as you say, I always say, walk away from me, because if I try and tell you how it works. But could it be that if they think they're going to a worse place, the jail actually doesn't look so bad to stay at? So, you know, maybe it's something like that. I wish we knew. It seems like I've been keeping patterns. I've been keeping records for 30 odd years. You think you have a pattern and suddenly, boom, it'll do something else just to completely confuse you. I also think we try and clump it all into one box. And I think there's a lot of different things happening. And we're just trying to put it in that one bracket. So it doesn't work.
We did have a question here from a young lady named Rosie, and she wanted to know if you thought the time slip glitch has anything to do with sleep paralysis.
I'm only going to tell you my experience with sleep paralysis. My sister actually does suffer from it as well. It used to terrify her. But there is also a medical thing whereby it's a bit like when you're dreaming. To stop us dreaming, to stop us kind of acting out our dreams, we have an off switch in our brain that stops your body from acting out. Otherwise, we'd be running around doing all sorts.
Yeah.
Acting out our dreams. Sleepwalking people do because it hasn't clicked on. They're off acting out their dreams. Sleep paralysis, for me, when people wake up, sometimes that doesn't click off. So you're now fully conscious, but you can't move because your brain hasn't released your body yet. So my sister does suffer from it. And once she understood it, it stopped being fearful for her. I'm not saying every case is that, but researching into it, there is also that medical side of it, just to try and get the fear down in people. So yeah, for me, I've looked into that side of it. So
Yeah, well, I am experiencing a little bit of a phenomena right now where several people have reached out to me, and they're either starting to fall asleep or they're starting to wake up, and they're experiencing visitations from a variety of different type of entities. Some are very sexual, some are like extraterrestrial beings that take them and show them other dimensions. Some are very violent. I got to a point where finally I decided I've taken, after all of these years, I'm taking a very simple approach which works for me. Everything's either a ghost or it's a demon or it's a guardian angel, and that's it. That's where I go from, or an elemental. Because if it's being violent, I'm going to treat it like a demon. If it's a ghost, I'm going to treat it as a person that either is stuck here or has made a decision to stay, and I'm going to try to communicate. Of course, if I've seen my own guardian angel, and if it's somebody's spirit guide or guardian angel, they're going to do their thing. I just become an experiencer and watch that. But I this sleep paralysis thing has me a little confused right now. I don't know what these different entities are that are having these effects on the people, either starting to fall asleep or waking up. There was a time where for about a week I would start to fall asleep, and I'm just starting to doze off, and I don't sleep well anyhow. I'm lucky if I get 5 hours uninterrupted before I'm just up and I can't go back to sleep. If I get 6 or 7 hours, I'm like an animal and I'm just ready to take on the world. But I used to have bad night terrors. But there's one night terror, well, I call it a night terror, and it really wasn't, but I'm just starting to doze off, and it would sound like somebody shot a gun off right here in my ear. It would launch me out of bed. My ear would be ringing. I would have a headache, disoriented. Really sounded like somebody shot a gun right by my ear. The dogs are still sleeping. Sharon's still sleeping. And it would happen every night for like a week. Couldn't put my finger on what the situation was. I went to my father's funeral a few days after those dreams started, and I'm sitting there in the middle of the funeral, and all of a sudden they're giving him a 21 gun salute because he was a 25-year plus retired uh, Navy radioman. So it dawned on me that's what that dream was. But why am I in advance dreaming about something in the future? That obviously what that gunshot was, because it didn't happen anymore after the funeral. What do you? I mean, talk to me. You are so intelligent and have a much different a much different approach than me about this. Help me here? What do you think?
Look, I've had another side of me I don't talk about too often. Gosh. I have had some weird experiences when I'm asleep. Not the paralysis, but visitations by people I know that have passed over. And all I can say is they're very different type of dream. You wake up and these dreams are very powerful. They stay with you. There's more of an feeling and emotion with them. Sorry. My friend, who I used to know several years ago, actually going back about 15 years ago, we used to do a lot of UFO stuff together. I used to work with him, so he was a work colleague, and he passed away. Now, some nights I would have him in my dreams, and he would be standing there, and we would chat, and we would talk about what was it like when he died, stuff like that. And I started to learn that when he came in my dreams, that I had to ring his wife, because his wife was at the rock bottom on that day. So I would ring his wife and she'd go, "Oh, I'm so glad you called. Today was such a bad day." And then we'd go out, we'd have lunch and everything else. And then about a year into that, he appeared in my dream again, stood there, and he said, "I don't need to come anymore." He said, this will be the last time. I won't be coming anymore. And he's never been since. So because his wife had managed to move on a little bit. So my dad, when he passed away, because being a ghost hunter, you're hoping your dad will come through the equipment and say hi. I've never had my dad come through, but I did dream of him about a week after he died. Or if he was, I could see him. He got up. He looked a little bit younger than what he did when I knew him. He looked a lot healthier because he died of cancer. He had a red kind of check shirt on, and certain trousers. And he was just telling me that, hey, he's all right. He's good where he is now. He's feeling great. Now, that could have just been my imagination, but I told my sister who lives in England, because all my family lives in England. And I also talked to his wife because he remarried. And it turns out that on exactly the same day and night, she had exactly the same dream, and he was dressed in exactly the same clothes. The shirt and the clothes that he was wearing was his favourite clothes that he was wearing overnight. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. So it was just like, that's all I've had from my dad. I'm fine. Everything's good. And then gone. I haven't had him in the dream since. So yeah, I think sometimes I wonder if we're in that state where we're more open when we are in that dream state with our brainwaves, and it makes it easier for them to contact us if they need to. So,
with the little bit of time we have left, this is where the conversation is going to get a little weird. And I've been waiting to ask you this question too. Over the many years that I've been doing this, I have quite a few times ran into either a man or a woman who are in love with a ghost. A couple situations even claiming that there's going on. I had a guy come to me one time say, I've got this ghost trying to kill me in my home, but before you come over, let me warn you, all my life I've had this attachment of a former wife from a former life who's been like my guardian angel with me all my life. And I just took up ghost hunting, and I took her to this place where she, kind of started having a little spiritual affair with this man ghost there, and she invited this man ghost back home with us. And now this man ghost is jealous of me and trying to kill me. I need you to come over and get rid of him, but don't get rid of my wife's spirit, because I want her to still stay here. I told him, pal, it don't work that way. If I come over, everybody's going, maybe even you. Are you okay? And I can make sure the guy's not crazy. But he really believed this was going on.
Yeah.
And I talked to people however it happened, and there was a dozens of different reasons how they're in this affair or love affair with this, what they're calling a ghost or a spirit, what have you. And some of them are quite intense. Could you, let's fantasize for a minute that you're not married to the most wonderful man in Australia, which he has to be. He has to be a saint too. Let's just fantasize for a moment that you're single and you're doing what you do, and you end up having this attachment follow you home that turns out to just be the most wonderful, dashing, romantic, sexually pleasing entity you've ever encountered. Could you see yourself falling in love with a ghost, or would you have to say, listen, as great as this is, I've got to bring people over here to help me get this gone because this isn't healthy, or I mean, that whole thing freaks me out.
Yeah, if it was me, I've never had that. I'm obviously not attractive to ghosts, but I feel like I'm not just probably get it gone if that happened. It would be very unhealthy, as you said. It just wouldn't be something. I get very fond of our ghosts that we have.
Yeah, you must have made some friends over the years. I mean, you go to this, you can make a whole career out of just a couple of the places that you've gone to over and over and over again. You make friends. My wife has made ghost friends. I think I have too. You get fond of them, and they have to get fond of you too.
Oh, not necessarily. I do get told to. Last night I'm not even going to say because I'm not allowed to, but you can imagine the word to off last night. came through. It's like, oh, somebody's a bit cranky tonight. But at the end of the day, I'm talking. I also do the history of these places, so I don't just do ghost tours. I like at Zedward, I talk about 12 of the murderers, the historical murderers that were put in there. So we look at why they were in there, and we look at the fact that they had head injuries that changed their lives. They had accidents. So they were as much of a victim as the victims that they took, the lives that took. And there's some very sad stories. They were never helped as well. So I guess I get people to look at a different point of view of this asylum, and I tell their stories. And I think from doing that and researching their lives and researching who they were, you do become very, very attached to them, but not in an unhealthy way, just in a respectful and a protective way. I won't let people provoke, because at the end of the day, you know, I've looked at these people. I've been in there for 6 years working with these people, and I call them people because they were once. And I think that way, yeah. But I think having a real relationship with one, getting married, is just a little weird and taking it a little too far. And plus, like I say, on my tours, and like you said earlier, we don't know what we're dealing with, really. You know, I could stand there and say, hey, this is how it works. We don't know how it works. This is the problem. And even those who say they do, how do they know they're being told the truth? We don't know. It's the unknown at the end of the day. So is it just assuming because I want to see a ghost and I want to interact with a ghost, that's what it assumes. If I want it to be an alien, maybe it would be an alien encounter. You know, we don't know. We really don't know. And this is what we're all in the dark trying to find, literally, stumbling our way through this, trying to find answers. And it's really difficult because it just doesn't seem like it wants to give us those answers. Tease us, give us enough to keep us interested, but it'll always be the camera turned off when something flies across the room, or camera's in the wrong direction.
Make a noise over here, you get there, they stop making the noise, then the noise is over there.
That's what I teach my tours, because people want to wander around. It's like, no, sit quietly and let's try and get it to come to us, because you'll be chasing your tail. You'll be up there, you'll hear something down there, you'll be down there, you'll hear something up there. You will be constantly, you'll lose a lot of weight with the exercise, chasing it, but we want to encourage whatever's there to come to us to talk. And that's kind of, how I view it. But no, I don't want sex with a ghost or anything like that.
Well, listen, before we run out of time, I know I'm going to get some hate, well, not hate mail, but I will hear from some of your friends that said you didn't get to my question again. So you're going to have to come back. But I want to make sure everybody knows how to get a hold of you. 2 great websites. The first one is paranormalfieldinvestigators.com. The other one, AdelaideHauntedHorizons.com.au. You've got a wonderful book out, Ghosts of the Past. And you don't have to answer this question. Some people have sent in questions. When is she going to write another one? So I'm just throwing it out there. But you're going to have to come back, because I didn't cross off one question. I didn't ask one on this piece of paper. That's what happens when you and I speak. But I can feel the love from everybody, that they totally loved and appreciated you spending an hour out of your busy early Saturday morning there in Australia to spend with us. I love you. I respect you. And I can feel the love from everybody, that they're so glad that they got a chance to spend an hour with you. Real quick, before we get cut off, are they your friends still at the door that we can say bye to?
No, they've gone now.
They know the show's over.
They've given up. They've disappeared. There's not one out there now.
If I was there, I'd give you a big hug. Give your husband a big hug for me. Tell him to watch out for the bees. And I will be in touch, because I'm going to have you back, okay?
That sounds good.
Alison, God bless you.
Thank you.
Have a great remainder to your Saturday and your weekend, and be careful on your ghost tours, and I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, you take care.
Good night. God bless.
Bye.
Brothers and sisters, I'm sorry I didn't get to any of the questions. I promise I will next time. It doesn't get any better than that, does it? I want to give a big shout out to my producer who wasn't able to be with us today, Adrian Hart. Her area, the internet went out. But as amazing as she is, she was able to reach out to another amazing person who's a good friend of ours, Mr. Rick, aka a pitcher of sweet tea, Garner, for stepping in as producer today, making the show happen, or there wouldn't have been a show. Also, a big shout out to the Paranormal United Network for simulcasting my show on all of their social media platforms. If you like my shows, guys, go over to the Paranormal United Network Facebook Live page. There's so many shows over there, way better than mine. You'll have a good time. Check out their lineup. On that note, I will be here next Friday with another brand new live episode of the Paranormal Ministry. You're going to love this woman, Barbara DeLong. She's a spiritual empath, host of Nightlight with Barbara DeLong. Wonderful, wonderful, talented, passionate woman who gives a lot back to this thing we do. So you'll enjoy that show next week. Guys, heartfelt thank you for tuning in. I don't have a show without all of you. I hope you enjoyed Alison. I love her. I really enjoyed visiting with her today. I will see you all next week. Stop the anger. Anger is just something, a punishment we put on ourselves for somebody else's mistakes. Stop the violence. Stop the anger. God bless you all. Stay blessed. On that note, good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. God bless you all. I love you all.